1. Welcome for another edition of us catching up with our successful graduates in the radio broadcasting program. Today, we're lucky enough to be joined by a guy who was here for a couple of years. He was our program director. He did a lot in our sports area of our radio station. He also traveled a little bit and got to cover our women's soccer team as they went for a national title. So please welcome in Jon Kleemann. Jon, what's up, buddy?
Hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate you. I appreciate the opportunity to catch up with you as well.
You know, it's been a while, and, you know, we talked through Facebook Messenger and all that, but,
right.
Man, you've had quite the busy career since leaving Lewis and Clark. And once again, just to tell our students, a program director here is kind of the top student, kind of liaison between me and the students, and help kind of manage the overall sound and scheduling of students, and you did that well. We'll come back to your time here in just a bit. I want to hear you give me some stories or what you remember about the time you were here. But tell us a little bit, catch us up. You leave Lewis and Clark, and what happens?
Well, as I remember, you kind of threw a job opportunity kind of my way through where you heard it through the grapevine or whatnot, but it was up in Jacksonville, Illinois, which is about an hour and a half to 2 hours north of the St. Louis region, where, depending on where you live. And it was for WEAI 107.1 The Eagle. I took over nights, the evening shift there. 6 to midnight is what was my first shift there. And less than 2 months after that, I ended up going to being moved to the morning show. And also promoted to music director. So that was kind of a nice thing. I think I was there for about 3 years, I believe. And from there, I kind of thought I wanted to branch out a little bit, and went into I'm a big rocker, Mike. I'm a big rocker, and so
sure, yeah.
So I wanted to go into active rock at the time, and I searched around a little bit and went down to Hot Springs, Arkansas, for a station down there. And I'm trying to I'm trying to remember the frequency. It was 101.5 Real Rock is what we were. Yeah. So went down to Hot Springs, Arkansas. I was there for a little bit, and what ended up happening there, my PD left for another position, and I was like, well, PD left, what does that mean for me? So I went for looking for another position, and went to Ardmore, Oklahoma, which is literally halfway in between Oklahoma City and Dallas. And so I was there for about a year when I heard rumors that the station was going to be sold at some point.
As is often the case in this business we're in.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, and again, they were kind of rumors, but there was actually some realness to it. So I didn't know what was going to happen, and I was like, I want a bigger opportunity anywhere. Because there I was promotions director, which was awesome. I was getting us concert tickets that we had never gotten before, based on what the GM was saying. I was getting us tickets to Six Flags down in Dallas and everything. And but at the same time, I was like, I want to branch out. I want something more than this. So I applied for a position with Town Square Media in Bismarck, North Dakota, and never having been to North Dakota before, of course.
Right.
And so anyway, the long short of it is the OM. There was a long discussion for a while about like getting me up there and when the right time was and everything. He's like, just keep that U-Haul pointed north. I remember he emailed me that. So
right.
So I ended up in Bismarck, North Dakota. I was with Town Square Media for, I think it was for 3 or 4 years, I believe. And I had a great time. Bismarck was awesome. I still keep in touch with all my friends there and everything, and even with people that work up there still. And that 3 or 4 years later, my OM ended up moving back home to where he was from, which was in Louisiana. And he moved on to another station down there. And then so a new GM came in, and I was kind of iffy about where things were going at that time. Also, I was doing probably more than I was wanting to be compensated for at the time.
Right.
And so then it just so happened a station in Fargo came calling, and they said, "Hey, what do you think about doing afternoons and being a music director here?" And I was like, well, "Fargo, bigger market, it seems like a pretty good opportunity." And so I went there for a year and learned a lot there while I was there. Unfortunately, for the first time in my career there, they had some budget issues and things like that. So I was kind of a casualty of that. But right about the time that happened, I got word of another position with Town Square Media in Cheyenne, Wyoming. And so that kind of happened. And from the first conversation that I had with the GM here, we just kind of clicked and everything. And she was like, "Hey, you're going to be, you're like on the ground floor of like what we have in store for you guys. And, you're the first person on the team for that. And there's going to be a lot of work ahead, but I know you've been with Town Square before. You know how we work. I think we can do this." And so sure enough, I moved to Cheyenne, and 2 months later, a guy that had attempted to hire me 6 years ago, and I had to turn him down because I literally got a job offer, the job offer in Oklahoma that week, and so I had to turn him down, and I said, and I even called him back and said, "Look, I'm sorry, I can't accept this, and I got this other opportunity, and so I'm gonna have to respectfully decline. I really appreciate it." And so anyway, he respected that I, was good enough to let him know about that and everything. So
Right.
we stayed friends after that, and we talked for almost like every day after that online and everything, and became just friends online basically. And it showed that we actually had some similar programming ideas in radio and things. And so when I moved down here to Cheyenne, I got word that he was looking somewhere else, and I said, "Hey, why don't you come and be my OM?" And so, sure enough, I told my GM about him, and she was like, "This guy's great. How soon can we get him here?"
Wow.
So he's here now, and me and him, like, we work very well together. I've been here for a little over a year now, and we got a lot of things in the works here. And I mean, we recently flipped a format for a station, and we got some things in the works. So things are going pretty well. So
Fantastic.
that's kind of where we're at.
Well, tell me about the on-air stuff a little bit there. So you're at a country station, correct? And you're doing mornings. John,
Yeah.
I've talked to other students. We, surprisingly enough, the fact that we have a modern rock format here at 89.9, how many students, former students I have that are doing country radio. And I remember saying every year when people come in, we've used the format to attract students to our program, but we're going to teach you radio regardless of the format. And I would often say we could flip to country tomorrow and we'd still teach you the same thing. And so not that you expected to end up at country, but radio is radio. It's just a different product, right? I mean, country fans are just as rabid as any other.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and you literally taught me this. It's all about the product that you put on air, and I mean and the goal is going to be the same at no matter what station that you're at. It's always about the product that you produce for your audience, and and you even told me this too. You said, there's going to be times where there's going to be a job opening for a format that you're not necessarily that interested in going into, but that's could be what you end up working in, and that's been the case for me a few times. So,
so you're on air there, and I believe you just flipped a format. Maybe it's a hit radio station that you're involved with as well, and maybe even doing some on-air stuff there. So that's happening a lot in our industry too, to where you're on when they own multiple stations in either a town or even across the country, to where you're going to have maybe a couple of different roles on a couple of different stations. So tell me a little bit about the dynamic where you are now.
I mean, you certainly hear about it all the time too, with people who are, I guess, so to speak, kind of versatile within their stations and such. And that's another reason what they saw for me is, I've done active rock before, I've done CHR before, I've done at the time I was doing red dirt country before, so I've been able to do various formats and such, and they saw me as someone that could wear a lot of hats, and that's one thing to remember. The more hats that you can wear, the more valuable you are, and whether it's in whether it's production, whether it's on air or whatever. But at the same time, all these were on-air hats that I was wearing, and a lot went into the idea of us. We don't have a dominant CHR in this market, and whenever we recently flipped a one country signal into a new CHR, and that was what brought the confidence in it. Is because we have someone local that we can put on there, and it happened to be me, and it kind of already worked hand in hand with the fact that I was already on mornings. People were familiar with me in the market for our country station, and so they thought that would be a good fit, and that's kind of how it's worked out so far.
That's great, man. I continued success to you in doing that role, and it's kind of fun doing the programming and launching new things and
Sure.
having fun with it. Some of what we're doing here, Jon, is we're trying to become more visual, and that's why we're talking to you now, and we're to catch up, but to show some of the things that we can teach students here. Would you find in your experience, Jon, in going through many different places, that the equipment we have here is equal to, if not better than some commercial stations? And any kind of comments on what you thought about your time here?
Absolutely. I mean, the equipment that you're going to get whenever you go into the program with WLCA, that is second to none. It is state-of-the-art equipment, and I mean, I can say firsthand from I've been at various stations, and yes, I've seen stations with some of the best equipment where we've upgraded to some great stuff, but at the same time, you're not going to get anything better at any other schooling or program than you're going to get for WLCA at Lewis and Clark, because I mean, when I got there, and my kind of let us know at the time that's how it was going to be, and I don't know if I was necessarily like, I bet a lot of stations have this. But no, they really don't. And I kind of learned that at my very first gig, when I remember I posted a picture of the board that I was working on, and the first comment on the picture on Facebook that I received back was, "When did you start working in a 1950s submarine?" So that's kind of that's kind of how it was in terms of what the equipment is there that you get at WLCA compared to anywhere else, and so it's really second to none type of equipment that you're working with there. And to extend kind of like my experience over at WLCA was the fact that what's better than anything is that you get firsthand it's on-air experience. Just it's kind of hands-off, like on-air experience. You're experiencing everything that you're going to be doing within the studio, the behind-the-scenes work and everything. So it's not just learning it and then you end up getting thrown to the wolves somewhere. You get to be hands-on with everything that you're doing, and the best way to learn it is to do it, really.
Just to catch you all up, we're talking with Jon Kleemann, former radio broadcasting student, now in Cheyenne, Wyoming, with a couple of different stations. And Jon, I wanted to go a little bit more and have you talk about your job as the brand manager for those stations.
Sure.
Radio no longer is just radio, and we're kind of proving that here with what we're doing now and making 89.9 more of a visual medium as well. What goes into that? It's radio, it's social media, it's producing content, it's all kinds of things now.
Oh, absolutely. And it's everything since I was at WLCA has kind of changed with the integration of how big social media became and everything with radio stations. So everything that you do now, social media is really a big part of it, and it's awesome that WLCA has all the technology with it now that they're kind of keeping up with the Joneses, for so to speak, to make it happen for students now, so that they can experience like, hey, this is what you're going to have to deal with. And because I mean, even in the past few years, from I mentioned I was promotions director at an active rock station. Mainly my job was just to get concert tickets through trade and things like that. Promotions director, 5 years later after that, is doing a lot more than just that.
Yeah.
It's and I mean, it's not only setting up tents at remotes and everything, but it's also doing controlling a lot of the social media stuff that you put online for your station, and putting a lot of events together and everything that encompasses that, and that all usually falls on the brand manager if you go to a station with a brand manager as well.
John, when you were here, you were our program director, but you were involved in sports a lot. You did a lot of sports, sporting events, sports broadcasts. You got to travel with our women's soccer team as they were fighting for a national title.
Right.
And I remember planning for that and making sure and how we got the signal back. Doing that today, we're using a system where the signal sounds crystal clear. We're sending it over data lines and being sent through cell phones, and the connection sounds fantastic. Basically, we can have connection to the internet just about anywhere we go. And now, with some of the stuff that we're using now, if you were to go out and cover that women's soccer team again, not only would you be able to send audio back, but you'd also be able to send video back. How would that have changed your broadcast? I don't remember where you guys were. You were in.
I remember specifically what it was. When we were doing the broadcast, and I was kind of also I would kind of start off the broadcast, but also I was also kind of like a sideline reporter for the team that we had there, and everything, to give constant updates as well. And I can remember when I was doing that, my the equipment that I kind of need to stay by I needed to stay in a specific spot to get a signal, and it was very windy the day of the championship. And my notes that I had, which I was going off of for the introduction and everything for the entire broadcast, they started blowing away. And I was like, well, I can't move because otherwise we're not going to have a signal.
Right.
So I kind of had to ad-lib part of it. And one of the guys, I just kept it going and kept it flowing. And one of the play-by-play guys actually got up from his chair, caught it in the wind, and brought it back to me. So, and I kind of caught my space, somehow. It was like a stroke of magic. I don't know how that happened, but it was that certainly wouldn't be an issue now had we had a good signal,
right.
And just pretty much anywhere around the field. But there were certain points that we had to go to that we could only broadcast from, because I was like, well, we're getting kind of dead space right there. So.
John, everyone has been having to adapt over this last year to COVID and COVID restrictions, and obviously it hit the college the same way. We haven't been back on campus officially in over a year. I mean, we've had sometimes we can bring students in for labs, but it doesn't look anything like it did a year ago, and hopefully we can get back to something similar. But we've also learned that there's many things that we can do remotely that's going to probably improve instruction, like with teaching Adobe Audition, where students can log in from home with their own software and share their screens, and things like that, which will make it better. One thing I think we lost, though, in that, and I'm excited about getting beyond this, as I'm sure the entire world is bringing students back together, because what I think one of the strengths of our program, and correct me if I'm wrong, is the camaraderie, working with other students, making friends with other people, working on projects together. Not saying you were excited to come to class every day, but there was something about being here in the studio with your fellow students, going to lunch, doing college stuff, but having a radio station to do it with. Can you comment on that, and what you think that meant to not only how you learned, but what kept your interest while you were here?
Oh, absolutely. I think that was one of the huge strengths in terms of my experience at WLCA, was the fact that, and first off, by the way, I actually did love going to class, honestly. That's just a FYI.
That's good to know.
But also, Yeah, the camaraderie that we had specifically in my class, and I can attest to this considering the close friends that I have. I still keep in touch with a lot of those same people. At least I can name about 7 or 8 of them off the top of my head that I've probably talked to in the past month. So that's how strong kind of a bond that you share with your classmates, really. And the camaraderie is great because you work with those guys day in and day out, and it's just it's a very unique experience that you don't necessarily get anywhere else. And it's just so cool that I just mentioned that some of those people I talked with one of them yesterday, actually, and I talked with a few of them last week. So I mean, and we'll always bring up, whether it's memories or something that we did, like a project that we did. In fact, one of them, I actually went to them for advice before taking a radio job. So that's kind of another thing as well. But those friendships that you make with those people that you're going to work with every day that are in your class, that's a bond that you're going to experience for a long time.
I tell you what, this was exciting for me too. Even though I'm not hanging out with you guys and doing your thing, we did some things together and went to concerts. And concerts, that's where I got spoiled, right? We went about any concert we wanted to.
Oh man,
I can't wait. I had something come up on my timeline on Facebook the other day, and it was 2 years ago. It was a Catfish and the Bottlemen concert that was 2 years ago, and that's the last live show that I've been to. Which, for someone who's been to many, that's kind of hard to take.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I remember so many of the concerts that we were really honestly just spoiled with. And so, I mean, yeah, that's another thing too. You kind of, that camaraderie that I talked about. I mean, some of your friends go to those concerts and you have times with them and you get to experience that. And that only makes you even closer and want to work with them and for them that much more. And speaking of concerts, yeah, it's been. I'm trying to think. I think the last one that I went to was in Fargo, actually. But it's been, man, I can't wait until we get past everything and everything's been able to open up again, because when it does, I know your students are definitely going to be spoiled with concerts for sure.
Well, we're hoping so. Going back to memories, I remember, and I hope that you do too. I remember a remote broadcast at a local supposedly haunted house called the McPike Mansion, and we did a broadcast from the cellar downstairs, and I believe it was you and Craig and Wesley and a few others, but I remember a story about ghost clothes and having a poker game and stealing somebody's ghost clothes. Do you remember when Wesley was talking about it's kind of inside joke and we shouldn't do that because it'd be too long to explain it, but I still think about that memory about how Wesley went on about if the ghost was there that they'd sit down and play poker, and he ended up taking his ghost clothes if ghosts even wear clothes. But there were plenty of times like that, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I can remember specifically so many moments throughout that. That was a great day, by the way, the McPike Mansion, because leading up to that entire thing, like we were working pretty much all day to make sure that thing went off without a hitch. Because as I recall, I think you kind of left me in charge, and you had to go out of town or something like that. And it was like this is going to be pretty much on you, but
right.
But at the same time, no, it was a fun experience, and I can remember so much of it, and like you said, there's specific moments that stand out in my mind just throughout the entirety of the duration of the time that I was there. That just I mean, there's so many memories that you make from that, and that you never forget them. And like I said, I still stay in touch with a lot of them, with a lot of people from my class. And there's so many things that we'll just bring up just randomly out of nowhere, and we all know exactly what we're talking about. So and it's like, oh yeah, and somebody will also bring up another point at like, hey, remember that concert that where this happened or this happened, and remember that even like it could be in one of the classes when we had radio drama. Remember that skit that you guys did in radio drama?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's so many cool things like that.
It's crazy, John. The years run together. You were talking about all the years you were in Jacksonville and the years you were somewhere else. And I started adding up those years and thought, it can't be that long ago since you've been here.
It's been 10 years now.
That's crazy to me because, I'm finishing my 26th year at Lewis and Clark, and that's a long time. But I can see now that, man, it seems like yesterday in so many instances, to where I think about, you and Craig and Wesley and a bunch of others that were people that were here at that time, and like, there's no way it could have been 10 years ago, but it has, and that just kind of attests to how you can recall those memories and how they seem like yesterday. So,
absolutely,
John, I appreciate it. Before I let you go, though, I have to know, you were a huge Rams fan. Did you stay a Rams fan as they moved back to LA?
I did. I was one of the few, probably from the St. Louis region, that actually stuck with them. Yeah. So I, you root for the players, you don't root for the owner, because otherwise, how would the Dallas Cowboys have any fans?
Right. Did you get into any hockey when you were in Fargo? I'm assuming hockey is a big deal in that part of the world.
Of course, obviously. The big thing for them, for the region, I should say, is University of North Dakota, because they're always so good in hockey and such. And so every now and then, I was able to go up to a couple of games up there, which is kind of like being at any NHL game, which is kind of crazy.
Wow, yeah.
Honestly, yeah. Their arena's state of the art and everything, and it's just a crazy atmosphere, and they really do kind of act as if it's a pro hockey game and everything. And so everybody up there in North Dakota, yeah, they're all about their hockey. And what's really cool is, though, was whenever whenever the Blues won the Stanley Cup, when I was up there and everything, and so I kind of got to look at all those hockey guys and be like, hey, what's up now?
John, I appreciate it so much. Tell our listeners and tell people who are wanting to catch up with where you are, give us the details. What are the call letters? What are the station names? So if people want to go check you out.
Yeah, I'm the morning show host and brand manager for KCGY Y95 up here, Southeast Wyoming's #1 for new country, as well as on also afternoon host on 106.3 Now FM, Cheyenne's hit music station. So, and it's in the Cheyenne-Laramie market here for Town Square Media, and that's what's happening here.
John, thank you so much. Thanks for your time here. Being our program director, which means you are a leader of students, which means you help teach others. You are a fantastic student, so I want to thank you for your time here. You help make others better. You help make me better, so I appreciate it, and thank you for taking time with us this morning.
Well, absolutely. And Mike, thank you so much, because honestly, you were the one who, played the key role in jump-starting my career. So, and I'm never going to forget that, and I'm always in debt to you for that. So, well,
I always tell students that where that happens, I just led the path. It was you guys who tear it up. So thank you for that. All your success is yours, my friend. So thank you so much, and we'll talk soon.
Absolutely.
All right, take care.
Yep. See you.